What's up, friends? Welcome to another one. Thanks for watching. If you clicked on this, you're probably interested in bottom fishing in the Northeast and why you should be chumming. This is why. This is just the leftovers that I did not cook up of only 10 scup that I caught on the just a few days ago. This is actually a little experiment. We'll have to revisit this in a video. I heavily salted these and soaked them in saltwater brine for about a day and a half to see if they firm up in the freezer. Alright, so come along. We're gonna do an instruction video on how to chum for bottom fish in Rhode Island. First, let's get rid of the rest of this fish.
Alright, so I don't have the chum bucket down yet.
This is a really good scup.
I like to take a few drifts over the spots that I like to fish and chum at to see what's there, make sure it's worth the time.
First sea bass of the year. Yeah, I think they're open.
A nice size
Bigger
scup
ones.
and a sea bass, and
I
was like, you know what? I think this is it.
Gotta double check. I'm pretty sure they open. Fluke this year. That would be a welcome. So you know what? I think that's enough. I think I got one off camera. I got one decent porgy that I put back, and one. So I think I'm gonna motor up on that spot. It's go just in front of it. Toss the anchor. Let me get that ready here, and then we'll move on to the next step. Here's my anchor setup. See here. I got in there. It's hard to lose anchors. So I drilled a hole in the back of the anchor. Zip tie to the front. So if it gets caught, the zip tie breaks and I pull up the anchor backwards.
So the goal when you put the chum out is to have the chum go into the structure that you're fishing. And that will draw the fish to the source that the chum is coming from. It will draw the fish to the source right up to your boat. Alright, so what does chumming look like? Well, what you see here is a bunch of clam bellies. It's actually the whole thing. It's just the non-dinner grade sea clams that they get, and they're pretty much smashed up. You're gonna have some shell in there and all that, and you just cut it up, not too fine. Cut up some of the the meaty parts, like the tongue itself, a little finer. And what I like to do, what is the cheapest, is you see this little bag that I'm putting this in. It's a lobster bait bag. You can get them on Amazon even. You should be able to get them at any boat store as well. But you can use a mesh bag from like that pepper or onions come in or anything like that. And I load it in there and I put a 4-ounce sinker in that bag, and I use a barrel swivel to the end of a fishing rod. The reason why I like to use a fishing rod is because I like to be able to jerk it a couple times. You can use a string. The fishing line does a better job because it's narrow diameter and it gets down to the bottom better. So every once in a while, every like 10-15 minutes, I'll pick up the rod and give it a couple jerks. Just to get the stomach guts mixed up again and get it flowing. And it really makes a difference. You can see what I'm doing here. That's the jerking motion, just to get all the stuff in the bag mixed up. And that chum starts attracting fish instantly. The longer it sits, the better. You'll notice if it sits too long, the bite will slow down.
That could be a porgy.
And then you just have to refresh it with some fresh bait.
Oh, nice
or
porgy.
fresh chum.
Alright, first box fish. Hey! I know what that is. Blackfish. First blackfish I've caught not on crabs. That's probably what I hooked earlier. The big fish was probably keeper-sized blackfish.
So what I'm doing here is I'm pulling up the chum bag just to refuel it. Cut up some more clams, plop them in there. So to be clear, again, what's around that chum bag is just a barrel swivel. Big barrel swivel, big snap barrel swivel, where I just kind of thread the bag through the snap swivel.
That's a pretty big porgy.
So I want to take this real quick second too, since this is a chumming video. It's clearly a meat fishing mission. What I like to do to take care of these fish, make sure they're premium table fare, is especially the porgies. They seem to do really good with a nice cold bath before you bring them home, and I always bleed them. Just makes it easier to clean. I think it makes the meat taste better. I don't think it actually does a whole lot as far as flavor for the fish, because they still have that bloodline. But it makes a table cleaner, and people say it makes the fish taste better. I haven't done a real taste comparison, but it's definitely easier, and it's not hard to do. I just pop their gill. You're going to see it here in a second. I just pop their gill with my finger and throw them in a bucket of water. And then I have a bag or two of ice in the cooler. And then you saw just now, I take some salt water, and the salt mixes with the ice and does something with the rapid melting of the ice, creates this real extra cold water. And when I fillet the fish, they'll almost be frozen. Sometimes they are, depending on how much ice versus salt water, how perfect that brine was. Sometimes they'll be solid frozen. I'll use this minute too. We'll talk about the different setups I use for this. You can use a chicken rig, which I believe I have a few fish on here. Clearly I did not leave all the fish in. I must have caught, I don't know, maybe 50 scup, 20 sea bass, all short sea bass today. It was just literally every drop. The different rigs I like to use. So right here I've got a diamond jig on. I believe it's a 1/2 ounce diamond jig, and I like that because it's very simple, really easy to use. It's got a good flash. It really attracts the fish. How I fish them is I either dead drop them right down, or I cast them out a little bit, I let it go about halfway, and then close the bail and swim it to the bottom. A lot of times you'll get that hit right before the bottom, and a lot of times it's a big fish that just tracking it down and whacks it. It's a good way to kind of cull out some of the smaller fish. Then I'll use, and I'll have all these in a picture coming up shortly, some kind of jig. I really like the Swedish, I think it's called the Swedish Pimple, I believe that's what it's called. Just a minnow shaped jig, and with a smaller hook on it. Anything like that, you can get them at any bait and tackle shop. You'll see these. And sometimes I'll also rig them with like a teaser on top of just bait, or a teaser on top of a rubber, either a small piece of gulp or something like that. But today I didn't bother with teasers. Or so I'll use that or the chicken rig, which you saw earlier. The chicken rig's good. If I'm doing stuff on the boat, I'll put down something like a chicken rig with the 2 hooks, and I'll throw it in the rod holder, and I'll clean up, kind of thing.
Those are aggressive little fish.
I like that for that. Alright, I'll shut up and let you watch this fish.
Hey, he's close. Yeah, we'll put him back though.
So
Is he close?
let's ask the question: why is chumming necessary? If you can just catch all these fish drifting, or is chumming really worth the effort? My answer to that is absolutely yes. I've seemed to catch bigger fish doing this in more numbers, and I think the reason is, especially because either I fish myself or in a small boat, so either I fish myself or one other person, and we're not making the same commotion that other boats make. So especially on like high traffic days where there's a lot of people on your spot, chumming is super effective and will often pull fish, that you would never be able to catch with all these other boats. Because one thing I've noticed over the years is that the more commotion there is, the more the fish react. So they're not spooked by seeing another fish get caught. They're actually turned on, but they think it's feeding, and it's a sign of aggression to them, and it gets their instincts going. So the more fish that are being caught, the more chance you have of catching fish. I think chum equalizes that if you don't have a lot of people. This is all day, every day when you chum. This is it, all day, every day when you chum for porgies. Not hard. You want to fill up a cooler, it's the way to do it. Plus, it's also a lot of fun to see how many fish you can fit on your fish finder. Here's a screenshot that I just took there. And it's like that the whole time. Screen is just, you can see all in the bottom half, all that yellow and purple. That's all scup, sea bass, all the fish that are right there. Alright guys, I'm going to leave you with this last fish here. God bless, tight lines, and get the heck outside.
This looks like a keeper sea bass. Oh yeah.